Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello everybody and welcome to another recommendations video. This video today is actually sponsored by my channel members. So every month I put up a poll for my channel members who are romantic renegades and above, and they get to vote on a video idea that I'm doing for a video that they really want to make sure that I do and that they want to sponsor. So you can check out how to join channel memberships down below, as well as if you want to support me via Patreon and help choose a book that I read each month and all of that good stuff. So today, as you can tell by the title, we are going to be doing emotional intimacy. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean emotional sex scenes. That's what we're going to be touching on, because obviously emotional intimacy is important for every relationship, but I want to touch on some that the sex scenes really almost move me to tears in some places. You can just feel the deep connection between the characters and how much they love and adore their partner, and that the sex is so much more than just getting pleasure from each other, but in truly becoming one. I just love that. Now, not every one of these books does the sex start that way, though a good majority of them it does. I'll tell you when there's a difference, but there are particularly 2 or 3 in here where I feel like they truly are written like an erotic romance, which means, if you don't know, what really makes the difference between erotic romance, and a very smutty romance? I've talked about this before, but let's do it again real quick. Erotica is where the point of the story is titillation. It's usually very focused on sex. There doesn't necessarily have to be an HEA, but there can be lots of sex in it, right? So that could be a horror novel that they don't end up together, but there's lots of sex in it, right? Then you have smutty romance, which is the type of romance where you like maybe a lot of the smut that's in there, but if you took the smut out, I'm sorry I'm using smut, if you take the sex scenes out, you would still have a story, right? It would just then be a closed door story, right? You could do that. And then you have in the middle here where we have erotic romance. Now, the way this was told to me, Sierra Simone is in an interview, is actually where I heard this. She did an interview with the Fated Mates podcast, and when she was interviewed once, she talked about that really what erotic romance is that the emotional connection through sex is what pushes the story forward. So each time the couple is having sex, it's changing them and progressing their relationship further. And if you removed the sex, you would be missing beats of the romance, right? So that's where those two meet together, where if you took all the scenes out of an erotic romance, it would feel hollow, like you'd be missing it. It doesn't mean it has to be overly erotically written to be erotic romance. There are some erotic romances that only have 2 or 3 scenes in them, but they are the pivotal point of the relationship. It's where the growth is happening, is through the sharing of their bodies. And again, whereas just a sexy romance, a smutty romance, a steamy romance, you could technically pull out those sex scenes or close the door on those scenes and still have a lovely story, okay? So that's the difference. So these recs are going to be a mix of those two, like I said. There are a few that to me they are an erotic romance because the characters wouldn't be quite who they are if we don't see them during their sex scenes. And then some of them, I just find the particular sex scenes very emotional and they choked something up in me, okay? So we're going to go through these. And I'm actually starting with one that might surprise some people. And I'm going to share actually The Heir by Sophie Lark, or what is being rebranded as Year 1 of Kingmakers. I just found the relationship between Leo and Anna, though not my favorite written by her, right? There are a lot of very beautiful like that, but there's just something very moving about this one. And I think some of it has to do with, as Sophie has said in interviews, that there is a bit of this friends to lovers is what was for in her relationship with Mr. Lark, where there was just kind of this beautiful innocence between the two of them. And this is also one of her, I believe, her only friends to lovers that she's really written. And so it does feel very different in a lot of ways. She usually writes enemies to lovers or arranged marriages or situations like that, right? And this is a case of they are friends to not enemies, but they definitely go through this kind of a rift, which of course is where Dean is wiggling his way into everything. But there's something about Leo and Anna, you know, they've been raised almost as cousins. They are not, there's no blood relation, but they've been raised almost as cousins, and they've just, without knowing it, kind of been waiting for each other. And once they get to Kingmakers, which we're learning all about in this one and everything, but once they get to Kingmakers, they go through some struggles and they kind of lose themselves for a little while before reconnecting, and it's just really beautiful. This is also like a double virgin story, which again, like, there's something really powerful about that, especially when they've been friends their whole lives. If one of them had been sleeping around, well, it wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't denigrate what they have. It does kind of make it harder to believe that they've been waiting so long for each other when they're barely older than teenagers and have been like sleeping around. Then when you say, I've been waiting for you a long time, it's like, well, really, were you? It's not the fact that they would have had sex before. It's the fact that they can't say quite the same thing, right? Because there's different ways to do friends to lovers. Sometimes you are with a bunch of other people first, and then you're like, oh, you're my friend. Like, you're the one for me. You know, there's different kinds. But I decided to put this one in here just because it's not one that I usually pick when I recommend Sophie's books. But it's a great place to go to, especially since it's the beginning of one of her series. Though, of course, I always suggest you start with Brutal Birthright, because Leo is the son of... Leo is the son of Sebastian and Elena, and Anna is the daughter of Miko and Nessa. So there we go with that. All right, then there's the one that I, of course, have to share. I will put this on every emotional one that I possibly can for you, and that's Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. This is in one of my favorites of this year. You're going to see it pop up in so many videos. If you haven't read it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's so beautiful. This one is actually college age as well. And we have a hockey player and an ice skater who kind of have this like friends with benefits. But the thing is that the hero wants so much more than that. And he's actually the one who, though he's willing to satisfy the heroine, he's really trying to wriggle for something more. And he's just willing to wait until he gets that. And what really scares the heroine is how, when they have intimate moments together, how close she feels with him. And that makes her feel so vulnerable and weak, even though he's there to support her and keep her strong. But this starts with actually Reese has had a traumatic situation. He got really hurt on the ice, and so he has a bit of PTSD of skating again, though he still wants to be playing hockey. It's his dream. He's a bit scared of it. And our heroine, she comes across him when he's having a panic attack, and she helps him through it. And that he kind of latches onto her after that. And then as they keep running into each other, he just falls more and more into her. And I loved watching that happen. But yeah, when they are finally together, when they have a full sex scene, as it were, she realizes how much trouble she's in. And I really love it, because Reese is just, he takes such good care of her emotionally, and like, he's so supportive. He's so wonderful. Like, this couple, they're really something special to me. Then another one that shows up all the time is You and Me by Tal Bauer. Can you tell that books with emotional intimacy tend to be on my favorites, right? Because I don't like empty sex as much as I like true connection. And this is one for sure that these two friends, Luke and Landon, fall so deeply in with each other. And one of them, he's always thought he was straight. He's a widower. The other is a divorced single. They're both single dads. One is a widowed single dad, widower, and one is a divorced single dad. Both of their sons play football, and they get to know each other through the Booster Club. And Landon, the one who is the divorced single dad, he's out as a gay man. And Landon, again, he's always lived as straight. and he has this big divide between him and his son that he really wants to breach that distance, but he doesn't know how. So he decides to start with the booster club, and in doing so, he spends a lot of time with Landon, and they start to fall in love while watching their sons play the sport and spending so much time together. And, you know, Landon, he doesn't want to push Luke into anything, but Luke falls in love with Landon before there ever is any like physical intimacy. And so that makes all of their experimenting really so tender and emotional, because they really don't want to ruin anything. And, you know, it's Luke actually who's like encouraging Landon of like, no, I want this deeper intimacy with you. I want to share my body and my heart with you, because you see me and I've never felt seen before. And guys, it just could make myself tear up right now just thinking about it. Okay, this is such a special story, you know, gay, bi, whatever, it doesn't matter. This is just such a tender, sweet couple. I can't recommend them enough. Like, they're just so great. I love them. Okay, so now we have one of these that I see as an erotic romance, and one that definitely doesn't start out with really emotional intimacy. It starts out with some forbidden fucking, okay? But guys, man, the tenderness in this. So, God of Fury. I know, I put this in everything. I love this book so much. In my opinion, it's the best book that Rina has written, bar none. Easily my favorite. And yeah, this one is another gay romance, and this one is another person who has never seen himself as gay. He actually kind of sees himself as asexual. We have Brandon King, and then we have Nico, who at first when he is open to everyone, honestly. He'll fuck anything that lets him. But when he first starts kind of like playing with Brandon, picking at him, poking at him, he really doesn't understand why he feels so drawn to him, okay? But he does, and he can't help it. And there's something he finds fascinating about this uptight, his lotus flower, as he calls him. And so, yeah, the first few times they're messing around, it's very clear that, like, Brandon lets him do these things and then is very, like, horrified that he let it happen, and he's ashamed of it, and just, again, it's all, like, his own internalized how he feels about things. And also because Nico, he shouldn't be with Nico for other reasons. And as these two start to get to know each other, especially once Nico, for him, this is more than just a dalliance. And he's like, I'm not going to be your dirty secret. Like, Nico, don't do that. So it's not going to happen anymore. And Brandon realizes how vital Nico has become to him. When they reunite with each other, their sex scene, like, broke me. Like, it broke me in such a beautiful way. Like, it just stabbed me in the heart, you guys. It stabbed me in the heart, because these two boys didn't know what they were missing until they're together. Like, it's just, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. So, but yeah, this one definitely I would consider erotic, because Brandon doesn't let a lot of intimacy happen outside of sex for the first good portion of it. That's really when he is letting Nico really, like, move him and, you know, mess with his head a little bit, but also make him think. And so that's why I consider that one like an erotic romance, because if you took out a lot of their physical scenes together, you'd be missing where a lot of that work gets done. Okay, then we have one that's just absolutely beautiful, and I think most of y'all agree who are watchers of this channel. We have Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston. This is a historical romance. It's a fake engagement. It's a single mom who's trying to do everything she can to get custody of her children from her husband's wicked relations. And our lovely Nathaniel Travers is a bit of a rapscallion. He has to be almost blackmailed into playing this role, but once he meets Cora's children and he sees what's at stake, and the more time he spends with both Cora and her kids, he can't help but fall deeper and deeper in with them, and they give him something to believe in. They give him something to aspire to. And there's so many beautiful quotes in this one where he's like, no matter how well, here's a beautiful quote. It's right here. I have it ready to go. He's like, I'm capable. I'm ready. I'll reach, I'll stretch, I'll climb along the shell of myself until I'm made for you. If you asked me for the goddamned sun, I would make your life a perpetual July. And, you know, he doesn't have much in his life that, you know, he is, like I said, a rapscallion, and he is a player, and he is, you know, always looking to get ahead a little bit. And then he finds someone to be his home. And he is like, I will live up to this expectation. And there's just something so special about that. And so when they're first together physically, like, it's just gonna be a fling, and that barely lasts a second because the connection that they have is just so strong. It's like, this can't be anything else but serious. You know, they both are aware of the weight of that. Like, this can't be anything else but serious. And I just love how he rises to that occasion, and I love how she learns to love again, because she is so determined not to, but she can't help herself. Okay, then I have one that, you know, I gotta be a little different and throw it in there. I have Ensnared by Tiffany Roberts, and the reason why this one makes it on here, okay, why is Jenn putting monster smut on the emotional intimacy? Well, I'll tell you. First off, with this alien scenario here, they both think the other is disgusting. They both think the other is not human, which in Catan's case are Vrix. He's not human, but in that I mean, like, she sees him as an other being, and he sees her as a pet or a animal almost. And when he starts having attracted feelings for her, as the story goes, he feels like there's something wrong with him, because he's like, why? And not because there's anything wrong with her, but because he, again, doesn't know what humans are. He can't really communicate with her yet. So feeling any sexual attraction, he's like, this is wrong. I shouldn't. And as they grow to be able to communicate, and as they grow to be able to become friends, and then feeling more than that, they really come to know each other on such a deep level, because number one, have they spent so much time, but without being able to speak, there's still so much that they learn about the other person. And their first, like, actual penetrative scene takes a lot of trust on Ivy's part, let's be honest, because our man don't got a small male member, okay? Like, it's large, it has thingies sticking out of it. Just being honest. And so their first sex scene takes so much, like, trust on her part, and her deep love that she has built for him. You know, there's very little smut in this first book. There's very little sex scenes in this first book, because it feels quote unquote realistic in that way of, like, until she fully loves this alien man, she ain't letting him get in anywhere. Like, she just isn't gonna fuck a random alien, you know? She is lost. She doesn't know if she'll ever see humans again. They're in a very dangerous position too, because there's an evil Vrix queen who wants Catan for herself. Like, there's just all kinds of layers to this story, but I just find their scenes so beautiful. I just love it. Also, there are, like, new covers for this series that are really pretty. I'll have links to them down below. I'll have links to all these books down below. But yeah, I love Catan and Ivy. This is a series that I know people are freaked out by the Spider-Man. I get it. I get it. I read this book as a joke, okay? I read this book and the Naga Brides for, like, a video, and it was going to be a joke. I read a snake and a spider, and I was like, oh, going to be a thing. I don't think it's a joke anymore, right? That's the meme it was, like, I don't think it's a joke anymore. No, I loved this trilogy with my whole heart so much. Very good. All right. Then we have Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. This one, y'all, will make you work for it, okay? This is a very, very, very slow burn, but it's understandable because our hero, Raphael, he is not ready to easily trust anyone. He's guarding his heart very closely. He is suspicious of women. He has had a very messy divorce, and he has a son that's on the line. And then we have Ellie Sinclair, who is his nanny for his son, who's just absolutely a sweetie. But Raphael is not an easy man to work for, and very early on in this book, Ellie makes a mistake and he fires her immediately for it, like no mercy. But then he has to deal with his son Nico just absolutely giving him hell and is like, you cannot get rid of her. She's my only friend. Like, she's my friend. Like, I want this, you know? And so Raphael has to cave. And so he is a tough cookie and he pushes her away again and again. But there's also just something about him that you see where his hurt is coming from. You see where his heart is. And it's understandable how, like, it's understandable how he would feel that way, you know? So I just have lots of squishy feelings for him. And once he starts to get it right, once he starts to work on those things, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. So that's why I just love this one. And again, we have to wait a very long time for some of their like spicy scenes. But once we get it, like these two know each other so well. They've now become like friends through all of this. Their families know each other very well. There's just something about them that makes their connection so strong. And so it makes it, when you finally get some of that spice, it's like the best flavored spice you've ever tasted type of thing, right? It's good. Okay, let us talk about Elliot, our Lord and Savior Elliot Levy for just a minute, okay? This is my favorite book of 2023, okay? So wonderful, just adoring. I love everything about Elliot and Catherine so much. This story just, yeah, I've talked about it so many times, but the way that Elliot loves Catherine and her daughter are beautiful. Like, it could tear me up right now. The way that he sees every need that she has, comforts every pain that she has, absolutely supports her and adores her and wants to make her dreams come true, wants to give her everything she needs, is just everything we want to see. And the first time that they have anything intimate, she has had a baby not too long ago. Technically her body is like ready for sex, but she emotionally isn't ready for sex yet. And Elliot can see that. And he's like, baby, we won't go too far. Just let me love you. Just let me pleasure you. You just lay back and let me take care of you. And it's so good. And then when they do go like all the way too, he's just so adoring of her. And it's so hot. It's so beautiful. And just like, this is the one. It has a little bit of lactation kink in it too, because she is a breastfeeding mom. And this was the one, guys, that made me go like, I'm into this. I need to find more. And I went and found some more because it was amazing. So you guys know how I feel about that book. Okay, then let's throw in a classic here. We have, again, The Magic, and this makes it in here for a very specific reason. Not only is this one of my favorite historical romances of all time, we know it, it's amazing, but also because when these two have sex in this, it's supposed to be revenge, okay? McKenna has come back after being chased away when he was young. Him and Aline were so in love and so idealistic about it, but he was the poor boy. She was the what's her brother? Is he a Marquis? I don't know. The Marquis's daughter. Anyway, she is a titled lady, and her father threatens McKenna, so she chases him away. Now, all these years later, he's back. He wants revenge against her, and she wants him badly enough to let him use her however he wants. But of course, when he gets that opportunity, he knows, he's like, that revenge was never going to be what I needed from her. I was always going to want more than that. And so the very first time they fully consummate their love, it's just this realization of the both of them that they're in trouble, that they're never going to forget the other person. And this book will rip you up and chew you up and spit you out, but it's one of my favorites for a reason. It's one of my favorites for a reason. It's fantastic. All right, just two more here. So now we have another erotic romance. Now this one is an already established couple. They're not in trouble. This isn't a like second chance or anything. It's not a marriage in trouble, but it is a marriage exploring more. Okay, so we have The Man I Know by Daisy Jane. And I adore Daisy Jane so much. She is an author who writes kind of like everyday kink. And in this one, we have a couple that they've been together for, I think it's 12 years. They have 2 kids. They're an age gap romance when they started, but like they've been together 12 years. And the husband, he has a bit of secret desire. He's intrigued by kind of like consensual non-consent. And that is something that he would never, ever bring up to his wife, because he would never want to, you know, shame her or degrade her. But he does now and then watch some porn that has that in it, and then kind of like enjoy the fantasy, keeps it to himself. And I mean, him and his wife do have a wonderful sex life. But one day when she catches him having some alone time and imagining her, he's like saying her name while he's watching this, she's shocked. Now, not shocked in a like, oh my God, horror, my husband wants this, but shocked because this man that she knows so well, or thought she knew, has this desire that he's been afraid to share with her. And that makes her think, are we not as close as I thought? If you could keep this a secret, are you keeping more secrets? But again, this isn't a marriage in trouble. They're not in danger of divorce or in any of those things. But it does cause her to be like, baby, why couldn't you tell me about this? I'd be willing to try things. Like, we can try whatever you want. That's the beauty of our relationship, is you can bring those things to me. And so it leads them into some experimentation of what's going on. And why I'm putting this in emotional intimacy is it's those things that happen around the sex in this one that make their sex so good, because they're fulfilling desires for each other that they, you know, that he'd been afraid to share, and that she didn't know if she would like. You know, she's like, what if I don't like it? And then I have to crush his dreams. Like, I've made such a big deal about this. But it's them actually exploring their relationship when they're already an established couple. And I find that to be so beautiful. So again, this one, not high angst, not gonna like break any hearts. This is purely the couple is together. They're together all through the story, but they are exploring and changing, and they're entering a new phase of their relationship where they have an even deeper love than they did before. So this one is, of course, very heavily focused on the sex, so I consider this an erotic romance, but it's also, in a way, a like slice of their life too, because it's this period where they're transitioning that. And I loved it. Daisy Jane knows how to do it. All right, finally, I wanted to throw one in that I'm actually like just finished reading it, because when I was making this list, I was like, oh, this book I'm reading really fits into it. And that's actually Love Me by Tiffany Patterson. And Tiffany Patterson I discovered earlier this year. I've actually read books 1 and 3 in this series. I've listened to the audiobooks. And the reason I listened to 1 and 3 is those were the ones that the ARCs were available for, the ALCs were. And for some reason, they didn't have book 2 available for an ALC. But then recently, a different PR team had ALCs for book 2. And I really was intrigued by it because it's a friends to lovers story. And so I signed up for it, and I just finished reading that ALC. And this one, in some ways, as like The Air does, like I said, it's 2 people who know each other so well, who are finally consummating their relationship. Now, they've both had other relationships, her more than him. She actually recently gets out of an engagement in the beginning of this book. And our hero, she's moved home now. She's going to be closer to home. She's starting her business, and he's her best friend. But he's definitely pulled away in recent years when she was engaged to someone else, which, to be fair, if she had been going to marry someone else, that was a good decision, you know, to not stay best friends with your male friend. That would make a partner jealous, you know. But he was never the one for her. And when she's living back home, the hero, Diego, tells her, I want you to give me 3 months. You've dated these other people. You've been with them. I'm the one who's meant for you. But I know you need convincing, so give me 3 months. Go on dates with me, be my girlfriend for this time, and I will prove to you that I'm the one for you. And so the first time they finally consummate their relationship, she is so shocked by how powerful it is. But at the same time, it's like, well, of course, because he knows me better than anyone else. And of course, it's going to be more powerful than anything else. And I am here for it. Give me all of it. Yum, yum, yum. I loved it so much. So yeah, high praise for this book. I think all of her stories are great. They all are diverse stories. This is a Black author. The audiobooks are fantastic. This is someone that I definitely want to read her backlist. So yeah, they're fantastic. Highly recommend it. So there you go, everyone. Those are some books with emotional intimacy, some beautiful steam, as well as they all touched my heart as well. And so, yeah, thank you again to my channel members for sponsoring this video. If you would like to support me here, I would appreciate it so much if you would check out the options to do that. But you can do that in other ways, as well as using my links that I have for these books, because whether you buy a paperback, an ebook, or an audiobook, it all helps out me if you do. As well as just liking this video, leaving a comment, leave me some hearts. All of that does help so much. So thank you so much for watching, my friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.